Hey, listen to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and NPR. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype, we've got Josh.
Hey.
Coming up this weekend, we have NXT War Games. The first, I guess, full-on pay-per-view since NXT 2.0 sort of came into play. 5 matches on that card. We should just run down those 5 before we get into any Raw or SmackDown stuff. I'm going to open up with one that I know you're going to love. Cameron Grimes, Duke Hudson, one-on-one in a hair versus hair match.
This should be a lot of fun, just because it's Cameron Grimes. And by the way, I also want to mention, this will be the first NXT pay-per-view that's not going to have TakeOver in the name.
Just a part of that whole rebranding piece.
Yeah. I think just because it'd be more fun, it's more fun for the storyline, with all the stuff that Duke has been driven absolutely mad by this thing Cameron's done to him. I think Cameron wins here.
No.
I think Cameron Grimes wins here, and Duke gets shaved.
Don't shave my boy Duke's head.
Yeah, but we can't shave Cameron Grimes either.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, I just think it fits more with his character anyway.
Yeah, it's definitely one that could go, I think, either way. Like, when I looked at this match, and I was like, in my head I went, oh, of course Duke will just win. And then it switched to, well, of course Cameron Grimes will win. And then I sort of just went back and forth on those two answers, and I still haven't really come to a conclusion. Storyline-wise, I think it both fits. As you say, Cameron Grimes is sort of the babyface foil to everything that Duke tries at the moment, and Duke's the devilish heel trying to put a stop to his fun. And either of them walking out with no hair kind of continues the feud a little bit, whether it just annoys and pisses off Duke Hudson more, or whether Cameron Grimes, gets his hair taken off and continues to try and mess with Duke. I'd be interested to see either of them.
I honestly think if Cameron does lose this and he gets his haircut, he has to completely change his character. It's not going to work the way it is without the wild and crazy look that he has. That's the main reason I'm picking Duke to lose here, because I don't think him having his haircut is going to make a difference in his character.
Okay.
With Cameron Grimes, it's like you almost have to turn him heel. You have to completely you have to take him off television for a few weeks and then bring him back with a new character.
Mm-hmm.
It will not work. This to the moon, lucky go guy that just happens to have a ton of money will not work in NXT with him bald. Mainly because we have somebody on SmackDown with that character already.
Fair. We'll have to see what ends up happening with Grimes and Hudson in their hair versus hair match. But let's take a look at the NXT Tag Team Championships. They are on the line. Imperium, who just recently won them, going up against Kyle O'Reilly and Von Wagner.
I think this will be a really good match, but I think it's a situation where it's like there's one way I'd love to see it go, but there's no way it's going to happen. Simply because I don't think they want to try that. Because I don't think it'll work in this day and age like it did 10 years ago. And obviously I've danced around it. The rumors of Kyle O'Reilly leaving after this.
Gotcha.
I believe Imperium wins here. For all I know, it could be just because Von Wagner snaps and takes out Kyle O'Reilly. I don't know. But I do believe this is the last we will see of Kyle O'Reilly as a member of the Black and Gold brand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting one just because... Can we even call NXT the Black and Gold brand anymore?
We still have a team that's called Black and Gold, so...
That's true.
Until we get to that match, it's still the Black and Gold brand.
As a member of the Paint Splatter brand. Yeah, there's a lot of rumors floating around about a lot of contract statuses at the moment, and you have to take those into effect when we look at this, right? Like, as much as I'd like to see the belts go around Kyle O'Reilly's waist once more and maybe push Von Wagner up the card a little bit, you can't bet on a guy whose contract ends at the end of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. I would personally, if I could, think that they really had a significant chance of re-signing him, I'd pull the CM Punk trigger and actually have him walk out with the title.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it would. I don't think that would really work in today's day and age because we would see it coming. I'm already talking about it happening. We didn't see that coming at Money in the Bank in 2012.
Yeah.
So I just think that this has to be Imperium retains, and Kyle O'Reilly gets one last match to show off what he can do in NXT before he goes off to AEW, where he eventually will end up to go be with his friends and the Elite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's just been so many hints dropped and so much, almost story building there already with the Elite and other members of the Undisputed Era. You have to assume, usually the most common or most likely outcome is the outcome that happens, right? Most likely outcome here, Imperium win, Kyle O'Reilly goes off to the sunset and teams back up with Bobby Fish before the month's out. And that's how it'll probably play out. We'll just have to wait and see. And I'm sure we'll talk about contract statuses a little bit more later on as well. But before we get there, Roderick Strong is defending his Cruiserweight Championship against Joe Gacy.
In all this contract stuff and this stuff with the Undisputed Era possibly showing up on NXT, on AEW television, not one rumor has ever said anything about Roderick Strong. That shows how little he actually mattered to that group.
I believe the Roderick Strong's contract was also signed at a different time, so his doesn't come up at the same time as the other three as well. Yeah,
but I mean, it's just like nobody wants to see him there as part of that story, is what I'm saying. They're like, they want to see the actual Undisputed Era in AEW. Because Roderick Strong was just tacked on at the end because of the injuries to Bobby Fish. I love the character of Joe Gacy. I love all this that they've done with him. The whole throwing the safe spaces and stuff in people's face. I think this is a really interesting character. I actually would like to see them maybe pull the trigger on him for the title. The problem is that Roderick Strong hasn't had this title that long, has he? He's had it 3 months?
Yeah, I don't know if the exact stats are, but it does feel like it's been quite a short reign so far. It did just recently pick it up with the whole shuffle around, with everybody going up to the main roster and stuff happening, and he's also got that diamond mine behind him as well, which when I look at this matches, I know Haaland is there with Joe, but the diamond mine just looks so strong at the moment. Whether it's the Creed brothers or any of the members, they are all holding their own and looking really sharp and really strong. I feel like they're investing pretty heavily in them.
Yeah, it's even been less than that. It's been just barely over 2 months because he got it on September 21st. I really don't know here. If you're going to hold a gun up to my head and make me pick a match for me, I'm just going to pick Joe Gacy because I just love the character and I want to see where they go with it. But I wouldn't be surprised by anything.
I'll take Roderick Strong, and then we can move on. Which War Games match do you want to talk about first, men or women's?
Let's talk about the women because it makes more sense.
Alrighty. Raquel Gonzales, Io Shirai, Cora Jade, and Kaylee Ray going up against Dakota Kai and Toxic Attraction, with the advantage being on Team Raquel.
This, I think, is going to be a bloody war. I think these 8 women are going to bring it. I think we all love Dakota. We both love Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I think this is also going to be part of. I think Cora Jade is going to start the match for Team Raquel, and I think this is going to be part of her showcasing.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get to the eventual, I think we know who Mandy Rose's next opponent is going to be for her title, and it's Kaylee Ray. So I think eventually we're going to get a stare down between them. We're going to have some stuff between Io and them. I think Toxic Attraction Dakota Kai win here.
Okay.
But I'm 51-49 49. Because I'm not sure they want both matches to go towards the heels.
Gotcha.
Um,
the heels, we say, as we look at the men's match.
Yeah. I'll get to that later. Alright, but yeah, I think Toxic Attraction has been killing it. Dakota Kai kills it all the time. If they lose, it will be because of Dakota. I think she'll get the pinned. And it'll be her leaving NXT to go to the main roster. That's said, I think Mandy Rose probably pins Io Shirai here.
Okay. Yeah, it's a tough one for me to predict. Obviously, you've got my girl Dakota Kai on one side, teaming with my other girl Gigi Dolan, but going up against my girl Cora Jade. So really, I just got to go with Kai and Toxic Attraction because it's a 2v1 here. But you did get all three of them in a match, so it's going to be a banger. It's going to be something that's going to be fun to watch. But yeah, my heart is solidly on Team Dakota Kai for sure. And then the men's War Game match. It is Team Black and Gold, Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, Pete Dunne, and LA Knight taking on Team 2.0 with Bron Breakker, Carmelo Hayes, Grayson Waller, and Tony D'Angelo.
Alright, so let's step back a moment. We're going to need to step back. Because we need to compare this to the other match that we just talked about.
Sure.
Dakota Kai and Toxic Attraction all make sense because they've been working together for months. Kaylee Ray, Cora Jade's only there because the actual person that's been working with them is injured. Io Shirai and Raquel Gonzalez have been pretty much working together and feuding with the other side the entire year. Makes total sense. That match makes 100% sense. This one doesn't. You have Ciampa and Gargano, which we have documented years of friendship, evilness. They make sense. Pete Dunne doesn't because Pete Dunne's been winning the championship. But the one person on this team that makes the least amount of sense is LA Knight.
Yeah.
LA Knight is like, and I think and I'm going to get to what I think is going to happen with him in a second. But it's just like, why is he here representing Team Black and Gold, the old guard? Yeah. And then you have the new guard, which is Bron Breakker, who's obviously being set up as the guy. Carmella Hayes, which is the North American champion. And then Waller and D'Angelo, which I get because they're trying to build D'Angelo. I've forgotten who Grayson Waller is. But yeah, I think the key is LA Knight himself.
Okay.
I'm going to hark back to War Games 1997 with WCW.
Okay, you've lost me now. You've gone past 6 months ago. I don't remember any of this.
The War Games match that year was the NWO versus the Four Horsemen, in which representing the Four Horsemen was Flair, guy I can't name for legal reasons, Malenko, and then giving his spot by a retired Arn Anderson was Kurt Hennig versus the big four of the NWO at that point. Not named Hogan, I think, but the whole point I brought this up was because that match ended because of a betrayal, because Kurt Hennig betrayed the Four Horsemen and joined the NWO in that match.
Gotcha.
I think that's why LA Knight is in this match, is to betray Team Black and Gold and to hand the win to Team 2.0.
There's no way Team 2.0 loses this match. So, however it ends up happening, they are going to walk out the winners of this match. There's no point having an old guard versus a new crew, and you have the old guard win. It makes no sense at all. Yeah,
unless your name is Vince Russo.
I guess. And when we're talking about
that was something they pulled when they rebooted WCW in 2000 because they had the Millionaires Club and they had the New Blood, and they had a match between them, and the Millionaire Club won.
RIP.
So
I don't think we're going that way though.
Yeah, I And I think the reason I feel so strongly about this match, that's why I'm so unsure about the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Because in my eyes, because of the whole storyline of this is the old guard versus the new, I treat the new guard as the heels. Because they are bucking against the old guard, who the fans want to see one last time.
Mm-hmm.
So they're the faces. That's why I'm so unsure about the other match going towards Dakota Kai and Toxic Attraction, because they are clearly heels. There's no mental gymnastics you have to do to make it that way. Like I'm doing with 2.0 right now.
Yeah, it's also something that when we look at this match, much like when we were looking at Kyle O'Reilly's, we can't ignore contracts again, right? Like, Team Black and Gold got Johnny Gargano on it. His is just up at the exact same time. And all signs seem to point as this being one last outing for Ciampa Gargano, one last DIY showing before Gargano also rides off into the sunset at the end of the year. Yeah,
in fact, in Gargano's case, it's literally this is the end, because apparently his contract got extended a week before this match. So yeah, I think it is one last hurrah for Gargano, and it's the last gasp of Team Black and Gold. The Black and Gold is basically, it's going to start falling apart for the old guard going forward after this. I think eventually Braun Breaker does eventually take the NXT Championship.
Yeah, it's got to be where we're going.
And I think that's when the old guard will be completely annihilated. I think Pete Dunne is the one guy on the old guard team that can be a bit more easily infused into the new guard, because outside of what he did in NXT UK, what has he done in the Black and Gold brand? That didn't involve Matt Riddle.
I said it before you said it.
Yeah. And that's it. It was couple months where he was tag team champions with Matt Riddle. That's all he's done. He's challenged for the championships a lot, but he's never won them.
We'll have to.
At the same time, I could see him being moved up, especially if the rumors about Walter coming across to the United States are any bit of true to them.
A lot of uncertainty at the moment, and a lot of that uncertainty is going to shake up NXT War Games. We are pretty much all the way through the show, but we are going to jam in our entrance theme before we wrap it up with some Raw and SmackDown. The theme for this week is the NXT War Games theme, and that song is playing for you right about now. 24/7, I'm a real one. I ain't got no money problems, I ain't got no children. Dodging baby mama. And you're back at Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and NPR. I'm Grady, he's Josh. We got about 7 or 8 minutes left in the show to wrap up 5 hours of wrestling. Raw and SmackDown, anything you want to 100% get to?
I'm going to leave it to you. You're the host.
Alrighty, well, Miz comes back. Miz and Maurice. They finish dancing with the stars and immediately run into Edge. And it looks like Edge Miz is going to be our next feud for the Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I think it'll be a one-off for day one. But I like the idea of Miz returning and going after Edge. They had a good promo. So it is what it is. I think this is just going to be like a one-off, and the Miz will get to say he faced Edge, and Edge will move on to something else, maybe AJ Styles afterwards at WrestleMania.
Yeah, WrestleMania is on the horizon. We do have to keep looking forward to that, obviously. Most of what we're going to talk about from Raw and SmackDown in this little section here is going to be build for day one, but after that, you're only 4 short months away from WrestleMania, so got to keep that on the horizon, got to keep that in the back of your head as we're talking about all of this stuff, because both of our world champions have their next challenges. Big E has 2, in fact, standing behind him, Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, both taking a shot at him. And it's also the only confirmed match for day one as well.
Yeah, no, wasn't that the whole point of the Becky Lynch Liv Morgan stuff? Was to set up a match for day one?
I'm not 100%. It's not on the page at the moment, but
no. No, I just read it's for next week. I think that'll be a screwy finish, and then they'll get that for day one. I don't know. I like that Big E has these multi storylines going on right now with Seth and Kevin Owens. But again, it's a case of we don't really know what the future holds because of the whole rumors around Kevin Owens.
So many contracts.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Big E still wins that match. Because I think Big E holds the title to at least WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it'll be a heck of a match when it does happen.
Yeah, Kevin Owens is just getting the old Daniel Bryan goodbye treatment. Triple threat main event for a world title on a pay-per-view. But, as you say, it's so hard to see where it goes forward. I agree Big E probably holds on to the title. I don't think Seth or Kevin Owens is going to be the guy to take it off him. And he's doing well. There's no real reason to end up taking it off him, so perfectly fine. And, comparing it as well to what's happening on the Blue brand right now, when we're looking at Roman Reigns and his work as the Universal Champion, he's also got a few people here and there, right? Like Jeff Hardy, we were predicting, Sole Survivor. He's looking quite good at the moment. Sami Zayn ends up stealing the victory away from him in that Black Friday Battle Royal to become technically the number one contender for that title. And Brock Lesnar getting his suspension lifted, so he's free to come back on SmackDown next week. There's a few challenges lining up for Reigns there.
Yeah. I do. I really want to see Sami Zayn versus Roman Reigns, because I just think that would be a good match. I don't think it'd be an insane match, mainly because I think Roman would put him out of his misery in about 15 minutes. But I think it would be a good match. It would give Sami at least I wrestled for the world title moment. And it could further his whole conspiracy theory thing that he's been going on for 2 years now about. With possibly being screwed over by Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Because of course that could happen.
I feel like we've got our next few, right? Because also mentioning this match, Drew McIntyre wasn't allowed in the Battle Royal. He came out and he swung at a few people and sort of cleared house in there as well. So that's another person who thinks that they deserve a spot. So you got Reigns McIntyre, you got Reigns Hardy, you've got Reigns Sami Zayn, you got Reigns Lesnar. That's a lot of matches on the horizon. And
that's exactly what we wanted out of the draft. New feuds for our world champions. Especially
we didn't expect
Roman
them all
Reigns.
At once, though.
Yeah.
Not all at once. Chill out.
I am also surprised you haven't talked about Liv.
Yeah, I was just trying to get through the world champions and where we're heading with this.
Right.
But sure, with our remaining 1.5 minutes, Liv Morgan, Becky Lynch, Raw world title match. I don't remember exactly how many years, but it is the anniversary of Trish and Lita's main eventing of Raw. Looking good for Liv to probably lose as much as I want her to win.
Yeah, I think it ends in a disqualification. I don't think it ends cleanly next week. That said, the promos were good, especially Liv's. I think she turned a lot of heads with that promo. Especially the comments she made about Becky's friend leaving and Becky's contract being the reason why her friends are gone. An obvious reference to the releases of Ruby and Sarah Logan, who was my girl in that group because she was from Kentucky. So yeah, I think it was I think it's going to be good for Liv, the feud with Becky, for a couple months here. That's why I don't think that match ends cleanly, and I think that's why they immediately then parlay it to a match at day one. And then Liv gets a great showing in the Royal Rumble. I don't think she wins it, but I think she has a great showing. And maybe 6 months down the road, she wins a certain briefcase and cashes in the next night and wins the title.
It's always got to be the next night. It's the woman's Money in the Bank, right?
Yeah.
But that is all we have time for this week. It's been great talking to you.
Maybe.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/WrestlingRNDup, or our Twitter page, twitter.com/WrestlingRNDup, or our YouTube page, youtube.com/WrestlingRNDup. And we will catch you next week with the results from NXT War Games.